glad to see you. Glad we're doing this now and not like a month from now when it's raining grapes in here. So.
Or even next week.
Yeah.
We're starting harvest. Yep.
Jesus, this is the first time I've met you, so I'm going to start with you.
Okay.
Give me a little bit of your history, if you will. You're from Spain originally, correct?
Yep.
And if I'm not mistaken, you're the first international winery owner in Washington, right?
Yeah, we became the first internationally owned winery in the state of Washington, yeah.
Very nice. And how long have you been here?
I've been here for 7 years with my family, but we opened the winery in late April 2019. Not the best timing ever, but...
How did this come about? Was this your family that started it all?
Yeah.
So I'm making the assumption that you were a winemaking family, a wine-loving family.
Yeah, we are a fifth generation family, so I'm fifth generation of my family, and we own a winery in Rioja in Spain, in the northern part of the country, and this is the first time that we go out of the country to build a winery, and there was a connection there because I studied in the UW in Seattle, and that was why I fell in love with the state of Washington, and very long story short, that's why we end up building a winery here.
It's an easy place to fall in love with.
Yeah.
Now, do you live in Walla Walla?
Yeah, I moved here 7 years ago.
Devyani, let's talk about your particular road. Are you from here originally?
No, I'm from Portland, Oregon, so not too far away, still Pacific Northwest.
And we're like spitting distance from the border, right?
Yeah, pretty much that road that's just down the road from us, so we're honestly a half mile from state line.
Okay, from Portland, again, a winemaking family?
No, wine-loving family, but not wine-making family, so.
Was there a point when you were bitten by the bug, or did you have that aha moment?
Yes, definitely. And I think it was like moving to Walla Walla where you put it together because, coming from a wine-loving family, we'd make trips down to Willamette Valley, but it just doesn't click that that's something that anyone could do. You think, okay, you have to be born into it, and you just don't put it together as a career path. But when I moved to Walla Walla, actually to go to Whitman, that's when I met people in the wine industry and was like, wait, so anyone could apply to work in a tasting room? You hire people seasonally for harvest. And then when I met students at the local enology and viticulture program, then that was kind of the missing link of like, oh, you can go back to school for this too. I think so many people in wine have a past life. And I think it's what makes the industry so interesting and eclectic is because you have people that have been in vastly different fields and
all different backgrounds.
Yeah, and it's kind of amazing that you can have a philosopher and a physicist both become winemakers and then share a bottle of wine over dinner. So, yeah.
Makes for interesting conversation, though.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So was there a different career path you had in your head, or did it just grab you and run with you?
You're going to think, wow, I can't believe this sounds so boring when you think of wine, but I wanted to go be a research psychologist, a clinical research psychologist, and had basically the next 8 years of my life mapped out, when I was at Whitman. And then I had this run-in with the wine industry and then started working in a tasting room, and then that was sort of the Alice in Wonderland fall down the rabbit hole and just completely fell head over heels with the process. And I mean, everything was so cool. Everything I learned about it, just the machinery, the people, the fact that you don't get any time of the year to do this. You get one shot a year to make wine. It was just a very fascinating topic, and I feel like the more questions I asked, I ended up with like 5 more questions after every question that was answered, and that was it.
That's just very typical.
Well, and I was an accountant, so this is not going to be your most entertaining interview. You have a researcher and an accountant. So.
I'm falling asleep right now.
Yeah, already.
But I mean, you made career paths, in my opinion, for the better. So kudos to both of you. You don't choose wine; it chooses you, and that's just how it goes. And if you say no, well, you're in trouble. You have to live the rest of your life saying, "What I could have done," which really is a crappy way to live. So.
Yeah. It was actually kind of the turning point for me. Is I literally had applications out to grad school, and at that point I knew I wanted to make wine, but the question was when, and I just ran out of reasons to not do it right now. So that was really the moment for me where I was like, am I really going to continue down this path when I just know what I want to make wine tomorrow? And that was 2016.
But it wasn't a fear. It doesn't sound like. I mean, it was a boldness rather. And I imagine the same for you. It was kind of a, do it.
Well, after college I went to work for an accounting firm, and I worked there for 4 years, and honestly it was not in the cards for me to work in the family business, but things happened in my family that my father needed help and asked me if I will step in as the CEO of the company, and at that point I was actually going to move to Seattle to work for this other company, for PricewaterhouseCoopers, and I dropped that and I basically came into the family business.
It's kind of ironic, isn't it?
Yeah.
Funny how things turn
I mean,
out.
to me, it was maybe on the long term, but definitely not short term or medium term for me. But you know, my family needed help, and I changed careers.
Now, I know it's hard to leave your home, no matter where you're from, whether it be overseas or, again, Portland. Do you intend on staying here? Or?
Yeah, absolutely.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Nice.
I get asked that all the time, and I can tell you that even without the winery, I will still stay here. I love Walla Walla. I love the U.S. I always wanted to become an American, and next year I will be able to apply for it. So, yeah, not going anywhere.
Congratulations. Good for you.
Thank you.
And especially these days, it's fun to hear that.
Yeah.
And I am not going to go any farther on that subject. Jesus, tell me about this winery. This is a beautiful winery, stunning part of Walla Walla. And how did this come about? This is a major undertaking to build something like this. This was built how many years ago?
It was April 2019. Yeah, so
Okay.
6
years.
years ago.
Yeah, right. So how did this come about?
Yeah, so we decided, we did a trip, actually, my father, my sister, and I, when, because we were, at that point, we were looking at maybe investing in another winery in Spain, and I was not particularly excited about that, so I asked my family if they will consider checking outside of Spain, and I obviously proposed Washington State because I was already in love with this area. We did a trip, my father, my sister, and I, and the first thing that my father said on that trip when we were done was, well, which my father at that time, you know, he was 75, so it was not, I was not thinking that he was going to be easy to convince to build a winery 8,000 miles away, right from where he is. And you know, he said, if this is exciting for you, for the next generation, for my sister and I, it's exciting for me, and he was very convinced, but he said, we're not buying an existing winery because there is nothing that we can buy that is going to have our soul. So he said, so if we're going to do this, we're going to build a winery, and it's going to be, you know, for the next 5 generations. So that's how we decided to build this winery. And if you see it from the outside, it's a bold winery. There is a lot of concrete, and I think if you look at it, it feels timeless. And that's exactly what we wanted to transmit, that we're here to stay, we're here for the next 5 generations, and that's what we wanted.
Was there any other area you considered for opening this winery?
Yeah, sure. I mean, we analyze other states and other countries, but even without Washington, in the first trip we did, we drive through the whole state, and we started in Woodinville, which, as you know, there is a lot of wineries there, and then we went to Red Mountain, which is a really good source of grapes. But then we came to Walla Walla at the end of the trip, and we fell in love. And you know, it's not only the place, which is obviously, I mean, in my opinion, a little more charming and more exciting that building or winery in Woodinville or Red Mountain, but also it was the people that we met. We met wonderful people from the industry, people like Norma Kiven or the Corliss family, or you know, Kevin Pogue, and we just clicked here. It's a place that very much have the same values that we have. We say that we are always pioneers, that we are always trying new things, and this is still a place where if you talk to winemakers, and I know you've been doing this trip, they are still telling you, well, you know, I'm excited because we tried this or we tried that, it didn't work, but next year we're going to try the other. That to me, when people ask me, which I get that question all the time, why not California? And why Washington? That to me is one of the biggest reasons. Is here we can still be part of the story, we can still enjoy that entrepreneur, that pioneering aspect that you can still breathe here. And in California, if you are paying $1 million for an acre of Cabernet, I mean, there's not much pioneering that you can try, because you better do what you know it works, right?
When you first got into the workplace, how many vintages do you have behind you so far?
Math. This is going to be vintage 11.
Very good.
Yeah,
Wow,
this will
you're
be
still
vintage
very
11.
young too.
Yes, yeah. It helps. It helps getting into it when you're young. But so before I found Valdemar family, I was with Figgins Family Wine Estates for 3 years, and then prior to that at the community college program.
Was there a specific wine that you were aiming to try and work with, specific grape that you want to do, or were you fairly open to anything?
Well,
if you let her, she will do everything.
Good.
Yeah.
Well, I will say though, this is very granular, very specific, but thankfully the opportunity came up very early. But that Eventide cab. So back when it was called V Squared, so in 2019, I think we'd only known each other for a few months, but we had tasted some different Cabernets, and kind of the question was like, where can we find grapes that will suit that more, if you'd call it European style of Walla Walla Cab? And I think somehow someone had mentioned Cabernet on Sylvain, and I asked him which property, and he was like, oh, it's this one, and I was like, let's just take it. And we'd only known each other for a few months, and he was like, okay, it's young, it's only 4 years old, and I was like, just trust me. And it has absolutely been our style, and now is our estate vineyard. So Valdemar family purchased it in 2022. So I think that was probably what I was most excited about, was just to see that vineyard come full circle, because in 2016, I worked with Sadie Drury. I was her low intern on the totem pole, but helped plant that vineyard and replant everything it didn't take and establish it. And I just really wanted to see those grapes come into the door at a winery I worked at.
Why is Washington wine special?
Why is it special? I think I'm going to say that pioneering aspect. There are many things that Washington does exceptionally well, but we have the flexibility where, okay, if Napa has staked its claim to Cabernet and Oregon has Pinot and Chardonnay, we have a little bit more creativity to try different things. I mean, we have so many Mediterranean varieties planted in the valley, and not saying that I don't know, Grenache Blanc is going to be the flagship white of Washington State or anything, but there is kind of this amazing spirit of why not here, and whether it's planting at higher elevations than people have ever planted before, or you look at vineyards like Weather Eye that are kind of at this like barren top of Red Mountain and doesn't look like anything should grow up there, but it makes such an interesting profile with the native sage-grass. And there's just so many examples of that in what is basically like a pinprint of the world map of wines.
Interesting. And your thoughts on that? Why is Washington wine special?
I would say is the huge difference between different terroirs that are fine. Like as Devyani said, like mentioned that vineyard, but we planted a vineyard in the North Fork at 2,200 feet elevation. I mean, I think there is a huge versatility of different places, and I think that together with what I mentioned before, that a little bit more old world character, I think it set Washington for success, especially long term, looking at how the consumption is going. I think to wines with a little bit lower alcohol, with a little bit more freshness, a little bit more food friendly, right? I mean, when you have this 16% alcohol wine, that doesn't pair well with anything. And here in Washington, I think you can do wines with a little bit more European character, with a little bit more freshness, a little bit lower alcohol, and I think that makes Washington very, very special.
The tasting room, which is extraordinary, it's a beautiful space, it's a beautiful building. I'm guessing this is by appointment, or can people just come on up here and say hi?
Absolutely, they
Really?
can come up, yeah. We suggest appointments, especially on the weekends, but no, we very much accept walk-ins.
And for our listeners who'd like to learn online, what is your website?
ValdemarEstates.com.
And the last question, which I went to ask before, it's the one that slipped my mind. Where did Valdemar come from, the name?
It's just a name. So when my family has been in the industry for 5 generations, but Bodegas Valdemar, the brand itself it's a little bit more recent. It's around 60 years or something like that. And when my father was going to start a winery, to start a brand, he actually received a letter from this guy that it was called Valdemar, and he loved the name, so he reached out and actually, I mean, this is way before emails. So ask if, for permission to use the name as the brand. And the guy showed up like 2 weeks later in his office with a letter allowing him to use the brand. So we've been the first, Bodegas Valdemar, the main brand that we sell in Rioja is Conde Valdemar. And here in Walla Walla, we're not very original, Valdemar Estates. So everything is, the group is Valdemar family.
It's a good story. I'm sure he showed up about 4, 5, 6 years later saying, and
No.
about that case of wine we talked.
Actually, no, like my father chased him for years to come to the winery because, for lunch, for dinner, whatever, and he will never come, and we will always send wine every Christmas. And then he ended up coming at the end, and then he passed away, and we kept sending wine every holidays to the wife. But when he passed away, the son actually reached out and said, my father always told me to never give you any issues with the trademark. So just check with your lawyers if there is something else that I need to sign so that you are future proof, because I don't want to create you any problems. And the son has come to the winery multiple times. He does come with friends every year and have a lunch or a dinner at the winery. So
He's a smart man. But what a beautiful thing. What an
Yeah.
absolutely beautiful thing. And
Yeah.
obviously his father left his son with a wonderful legacy.
Yep.